right, the scope of UPI increases with the news of credit line being introduced with it. Credit line on UPI still remains in trial phase, but the news says that post this launch, credit cards won't be invoked. Now, how true is it, and how will this new feature on UPI work? Is it a loan that you can take on UPI at what interest rate and for what duration, and how safe are you when transacting like this? Let's decode all of this with Yashwant Lodha, a co-founder, PayNearby, and Ritesh Bhatia, cybercrime investigator and cybersecurity consultant. Good evening and welcome both of you. Yashwant, I really want to understand what kind of a feature on UPI we're talking about. Will this actually replace credit cards, or just the multiple use of credit cards will be replaced?
Thank you for having me. What credit line on UPI does is basically allow you to take a loan from the bank and then spend it via UPI, which today is not possible, right? One form of doing that today is by taking a credit card, which essentially is a credit line in a card factor. The benefit of having a credit line on UPI is that the issuance cost of a loan, by virtue of the fact that there is a cost of card, sending the card cost, all of those costs become irrelevant in this scenario. You can apply to a bank, get a normal loan, link that loan to your UPI handle and on any of the popular UPI apps, and start using it to pay money. It will create a scenario where loans will not be used only for large ticket items, as it is generally done today, large purchase, personal expense like a wedding, marriage, and so on. But it can also be used to buy day-to-day groceries in a very with just as much ease as you are doing it with bank accounts today. Credit cards will continue to have their own relevance, because credit cards, in fact, there are many purpose-specific credit cards where if you have a particular card, you get more points and rewards on purchasing flight tickets, or maybe on a movie ticket, or maybe on fuel cards and fuel pumps, and so on. Those purpose-specific cards will continue to remain relevant. And even the general purpose cards, because they have a lot of rewards, will continue to remain relevant. It is not a replacement, but an add-on facility of utilizing a different form of credit in the easiest manner that we all know today, which is UPI.
Let's break this down. Let's break the procedure down. For example, if a UPI existing customer wants this credit line to be introduced on their service, they need to approach the bank. Okay, you need to submit some kind of documents. The bank will assess your eligibility for this credit, and then you are able to use it on a UPI. The question I'm asking over here is, what kind of documents first? How will the bank analyze your eligibility? And then the loan that you're taking, this will be reflected where? In what kind of account?
So what happens is that in a credit line scenario, right, while you may need, it's like a normal personal loan that you take today. You provide certain documents. Many of you today will probably have a personal loan approved in your mobile banking application, which you can go to your mobile banking application, get it enabled in a single click. And no additional documentation may be required. So for example, today, I can go into my mobile banking app and get a loan for 3 lakh rupees today as a credit line. Now, imagine if on a single tap, such a loan is enabled, and in your UPI application, you can link a loan, just like today you link a bank account. That will enable it. It will become that simple. You may not necessarily even need to visit a physical bank branch to get this loan enabled. I foresee a scenario where a lot of such credit will be dispensed on the phone itself, and it will be a revolutionary manner in how credit is dispensed. The documentation will be standard as it is for a normal loan, but the dispensation will be in a matter of minutes. Enabling UPI on a credit line is something what people are seeing is just as payment, but I think it's a revolution. It will bring a revolution in terms of how people get credit also as easily.
The entire scenario where, you know, the trend and the nature of credit being dispensed is changing. This is definitely going to be a revolution on its own. But then I also want to understand, is there any clarity as to for what tenure and what interest rate will you be taking this loan on via UPI?
Guidelines around it. What we understand is that it's be a normal credit line that is available to you today also. The loan's tenure may be short term from 4 to 6 months. To longer term tenures also, depending upon your eligibility with the bank, the kind of documentation you're allowed. There's no specific guidelines for this or restriction for this.
Sure. I have more questions for you, but then I really need to switch to Ritesh now to understand the cybersecurity angle for it, because just as we are witnessing, Ritesh, every time there's a new technology, there is a new kind of scam or a hack introduced. Okay, how safe are we while transacting through UPI and now taking credit on a credit line on UPI?
Kavita, firstly, many thanks for inviting me and for doing this particular part of segment related to UPI and credit cards, I would say. Now, the thing is, safety and cyber doesn't go hand in hand. Wherever there is cyber, wherever there is technology, the hacks are always going to be there. But yeah, we can just minimize the impact of it, or we can just delay what is going to happen as such. So if you see, as of now, also there have been certain frauds happening via UPI, when they ask you for your UPI ID and the PIN, they social engineer you through some sort of phishing, and then they take your details as such, and then they register that particular thing on their phone as such. I am talking about the criminals who now what will happen now with this particular credit line, or now with the credit card based UPI. So your credit card is already linked to the UPI. Now you're making a payment, and you have an option, like for example, right now it goes through the bank. You also have an option, like you have a UPI Lite, wherein like up to 2,000 rupees, up to 500 rupees, and maximum 2,000, you can just make certain payments and all. And now you have this UPI credit card kind of a thing. Now you already have a good amount of, let's say 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs, as you guys were discussing now. So the chances are, where in your bank account, in your savings account, there would be just, let's say for some person, let's look at somebody who's earning around about 40,000-50,000 rupees. He would be having just somewhere around 20,000-25,000 rupees in his bank, or even lesser towards the end of the month. But here he's got a big credit line of around about 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs already there. And this is how it can be kind of siphoned off. And that's the reason, we really need to be extremely careful. Do we really have to link it or not, will be the question, Kavita.
Ritesh, so far, what kind of scams are we looking at when we talk about UPI or using a UPI for any banking transaction or work?
There are two types. One is where unknowingly people are sharing certain information, and because of it, the UPI gets registered somewhere else. The second type is wherein the person is like in such a situation wherein, we've always been doing shows, and I always end up telling people that, look, let's just pause and have zero trust, and then verify and then do whatever we want to do. Right? We've always been talking about this, Kavita. But now what will happen? Let's say he's already being fooled. He's already being scammed. He won't have the time right now to pause and verify and other kind of things, because what happens is, up till now, like just yesterday, I received a message from a victim who said, like, look, I ended up paying 4 lakh rupees through my UPI, out of which 2 lakhs was already there in my account, and another 2 lakhs I had to take a loan. So what happens is, after that particular thing, he got some time to think about it. Oh, look, yeah, means, after giving up the money, this could have been a scam. Over here, whatever money he's got through the UPI, plus along with the credit line. So let's say 50,000 in the bank account, 3 lakhs of the UPI credit limit, and this is how it will go away. So he's not going to get time to pause and think and then verify, and so a lot of money will go away. So there are these two kind of scams. Number one, where your phone number and where your UPI is being registered on another device and being misused. And the second is where you're already being scammed, and you are yourself making some payments. But first you could make limited payments, but now you also have this credit kind of thing with you, Kavita.
All right, so a lot of things that a user need to note down. But then, so earlier, Yashwant, you said that this will really not impact the use of credit cards. But how do you think it's getting credit cards and UPI credit line on the same pedestal? Let's also look at the kind of add-on features you get on credit card. Let's also look at the repayment strategy and the flexibility that you get, on a credit card. Do you think all these features might also be introduced on UPI credit line so that it becomes more attractive? Because we are seeing UPI being, one of the favorite mode of transaction. Not talking about urban India, but then even tier 2 and tier 3.
Understand that today credit card market in India is about 3.5 crore credit cards, right? it's a fully unsecured mode of lending today for banks. But credit lines, while I said 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs, but banks, as credit becomes more democratized and as underwriting becomes more automated, what will happen is small credit lines for 5,000, 10,000 will also start getting dispensed. The other very important problem is that MasterCard and Visa, a lot of whom have issued credit cards in the market today, are still not on the UPI platform. Hence, the need for credit line is important. Like I said, credit cards have their own benefits in terms of rewards, but imagine a bank based on other, say, an FD or some kind of a deposit or a security against which I can get a credit line, which I would be able to use on UPI, which will not be available in a credit card scenario. There will be other scenarios now. Can rewards get introduced into the for credit lines? I think it's a matter of time when before which such incentives or such hooks are created, even on credit lines, which are not a traditional credit card, but works similar in a manner of credit card for consumers to start opting for credit lines over and above credit cards.
Yashwant, also one more thing, whenever you take a loan, this also, and if you really miss out the repayment or any payment, it impacts your credit scores also. You think the credit bureau agencies would now be tracking your credit line via UPI? Will that also come under your radar?
So credit lines in and of itself will be part of what credit bureaus will track. It has nothing to do specifically with the fact that whether it is used via UPI or not. Credit line is like a normal loan to the extent that you should be eligible to get it, you should use it responsibly, and any delay or missing repayments will likely impact your credit scores. I don't think that has anything to do with UPI in itself, is what I'll say. So people who use credit line for the ease of using it via UPI should also take credit lines and repay them back responsibly.
Strategy has to be there even before taking any sort of loan. But also, how do you think the bank would decide on the credit limit that an individual can have?
So credit limits will, I think, and we're already seeing a structural shift in how credit is getting dispensed. For example, we'll start seeing, we are already seeing smaller ticket loans of even 10,000, 5,000 rupees now being dispensed via many banks and NBFCs in a fully automated manner. So the limits will be decided on multiple elements. We may also see cash flow based lending. We will see the relationship of the bank and that customer pre-existing. I may have a savings account with the bank and have continuous relationship for the bank to be able to pre-approve a loan for me. There could be certain securities that I may put. I think that will be dependent on how banks and each bank wants to construct their credit line business. But a lot of innovation will be seen, and it will not be restricted to just large ticket loans. It will lead to more democratization of credit, something that credit cards by itself has not been able to solve yet in India.
Ritesh, the use of credit card and the scams and hacks that you come across and credit line on UPI, what would be your 5 thumb rules on the usage of these both mediums for credit?
Oh, so I would say as far as the credit card is concerned, like number one, in the UPI itself, you have a particular PIN. Make sure that PIN is not like really the same as PIN as when you get the, RuPay credit card. Like I have a RuPay credit card from HDFC Bank, and the PIN that I use over there is actually different from the PIN over here. So that's one. Second thing is make sure that you set the limits. Now, this is like whether it's our UPI card or any other card, it doesn't matter. I mean, the RuPay credit card or any other card, we need to set limits. Please disable international transactions if you aren't doing over there. Many banks give you many features of customizing, whether you do an international online transaction or internationally ATM. So if you're, let's say you do online transactions internationally, like let's say making payments to Apple and other kind of things. So, just set the limit to 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 and disable the other ones. Same way with the domestic transactions. So these are the things. The third thumb rule would be, please don't take a photograph of it, a picture of it, and keep it in your phone gallery. And that's how when the loan app scams happen, they had access to many information. Along with the identity cards, they also had the information about what all kind of cards you're using. So I think overall, these are the 3-4 things that you really need to take care of.
Right. So these are the things very important to note down if you're using or you will be using credit line on UPI. Thank you so much, both of you, for being on the show and helping our viewers with this today. Thank you. And we move on.